Hey, Melissa,
Yeah,
I hear you have questions.
I always have questions. A few fewer this week, and I think I know why, but I wonder if we could talk about this full moon coming up and maybe how people feel it a little. Some people feel those things earlier.
Yes, yes. Let's look at this. All right. So right now, this is the woo of the now. We are headed into full moon time, and you can tell because the moon right here at 15 degrees
Mhm.
Sagittarius is coming closer to 20 degrees Gemini, which is where the sun currently sits. And what will happen is the moon will continue to go deet, 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 up in the degrees until we get our exact full moon, which
Mhm.
will be, let's go here, it will be exact June 11th at 12:43 a.m. Pacific. And so you see that's
Okay.
when we have the moon at 20 degrees 39 minutes Gemini, and sorry, the sun at 20 degrees Gemini 39 minutes, and the moon at 20 degrees Sagittarius 39 minutes. And that being right across from each other is the full moon. I know you know this. So here's what it means.
Tell me.
We'll talk about the signs of all the stuff in a minute. But you mentioned getting your woo early, and I want to come back to the now of it
Yeah.
all. Okay, so here we are at this moment in time.
Uh-huh.
What's happening is the moon is moving this direction, higher degrees, higher degrees, higher degrees. And as the moon is applying
Hmm.
to the exact transit, that exact aspect of opposition, which is what a full moon is, it's an opposition. When we have something moving closer and closer and closer to the exact degree, it's what's called applying. It's an applying aspect.
Okay.
And anytime something is applying to its exact aspect, there are people who feel it coming on. I like to say I get my woo early. It's like you feeling like you're getting your period before you get your period.
Mhm. Mhm.
You just, some of us do. Like, do you get a Mercury retrograde before Mercury goes retrograde? Does things start like snagging in your communication and in your attention to details before Mercury actually goes retrograde? Or do you only feel it as it happens? What's your relationship like there?
So this is an actual question for me. All
Yeah,
right.
why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Well, I don't know because because my relationship with space-time continuum and my empty Sag sixth house where I'm supposed to be doing the things often contributes to me not doing some of the stuff well anyway. So I don't know. It sometimes is just like any old Tuesday
Okay.
for me. So it's hard to know, but it does seem to be more, certainly more pronounced during those times.
I'm going to actually say because of your chart ruler, because you have Cancer rising,
Yeah.
that means your chart ruler is the moon.
Yeah.
You are going to, in general, be more sensitive to moon shit than
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah.
And you may not notice Mercury retrograde before Mercury retrogrades because you are so into the ever changing moon as the thing that really clocks your flow.
Couple times a week.
Yeah. 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 Uh-huh. I think so. A
A little bit every hour.
little bit every minute of every hour, right? Because
Uh-huh,
the moon
uh-huh.
moves fast. The moon is mutable as fuck. Like the moon is constantly going,
Yeah.
and feeling everything. And of course,
Mhm.
first house water sign for everyone that has that. There is this I can sense it in my body that happens. And I think those of us with Cancer in the big three, which you and I
Mhm.
share differently, there is this ability to feel what's happening in the collective.
Yeah.
If we think about the Cancer the crab, just that avatar, that symbol, the crab has all those little spiny things on its back, like that shell is
Mhm.
covered in all those little prickly things. Those are actually antennae. And so those antennae,
Um,
those antennas, them's antennas
Either
are
way.
feeling,
Either way, we know, we know.
they are feeling everything. They
Yeah.
are picking up everything. And that means whatever everybody's feeling in the collective water, the Cancer is going to feel it in their being. And so that could mean that we sense earthquakes early, natural disasters of all kind, maybe not even so natural disasters like politics. Like there could just be this unsettling kind of event feeling in us.
Yeah.
And I've found that there are things where I just go, "Ooh, I feel like we're about to get an earthquake," and then we will within the next day. And I go, "Okay, was I actually feeling that, or was I just?" It's easy to say that I think maybe there's going to be an earthquake, and I'm like, "No, it's
Right.
there's the difference between a thought and a feeling, right?"
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
when we were talking about this moon, this full moon that's coming up as we're having this conversation in less than 12 hours, what about this one in particular is feeling so like I'm awake, I can feel it, it's in my head, it's got my attention. Can you tell?
Um, I've actually felt a bit tired, or I think my brain is tired. My thinking brain is tired. Which is interesting because I need to understand the full moon in Sag the full moon is a point of releasing, emptying. Is that correct?
Right. So
So could it be like I've spent so much time in this Sagittarius like state over the past year, really, thinking and planning and doing and, just so expansive, so expansive. And it feels, oops, I was going to put my dogs upstairs and I did not. Uh-oh.
we may have guest stars.
We may have guess there's hope. Come here.
Do we have a puppy?
Yes, we do. We have come here,
Hello, Hope.
Adobe. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. Well, I do wonder if there's been a shift in like go, 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 go. And I felt like there was a little blowout on Sunday night. And I woke up yesterday thinking, oh, yay, Jupiter's in Cancer. And I was just kind of like, oh gosh, what have I gotten myself into?
so I pulled up your chart and I just want to take a look for a sec. Because specifically, those things may have less to do with this full moon in particular and more to do with you just had Jupiter exit the building of your 12th house.
Uh-huh.
And Jupiter in the 12th house is always a pretty um, mental visit, no matter what the sign, but
Okay.
especially in Gemini, where Jupiter's not all that comfortable. We've got Jupiter doing expansive things with all the thoughts, and Gemini 12th house already is going to keep you up at night. Gemini is a very busy brain sign, and the 12th house is where we sleep and dream and have our escape to the other realms and
Yes.
planes and whatnot, and the Gemini keeps bringing it back to, but what else could we look at, what else could we think about, what else could we say? And so
Right.
there's always a lot going on, which is part of why Jupiter there is way extra. I wonder if part of what you were feeling is your dismount of Jupiter leaving your 12th house and finishing up that year of busy, busy, busy stuff.
Well, that's interesting. So maybe I wrote some about this and it was I mean, the way I saw it was Jupiter moving into Cancer has the potential to be, bubbling up the water, but also because Cancer is so holding, might be like, hey, let's just hold for a little while. Let's just like nurture and have a little quiet and calm. You can still go out and do the things, but let's just let's just hold for just a second or something like that.
It's funny because Cancer does have this more grounded vibe, and it's fascinating to me how there is this relationship with Jupiter coming into Cancer that is, yes, we can have all the things, we can go all the places, all the expansion feels safe, but part of why it feels safe is because we know Cancer is going to plan how to use it. These
Mhm.
resources are not going to be squandered. And Jupiter in
Okay.
some other signs can be all over the place. And it's just glitter in, like you mentioned over at our Discord, in every crevice, in every nook and cranny. And it's just like too much glitter and in not great places. And
Going to the glitter beach.
yes, exactly. When we go and roll around in the sand of the glitter beach, sometimes it is not that comfortable.
Problematic.
Right. But in Cancer, there is a little bit of this. I've got a plan. So I know what I'm going to do with all of this all of this brilliance and all of this optimism. It's not going to be wasted here. It's actually all going to be put to use. And Cancer is really
Yeah.
good about getting the last out of everything.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
But
That makes
let's
a lot of
yeah,
sense.
let's take a look at what you're feeling with this particular lunation,
Yeah.
this full moon that we're experiencing here in a few hours. So for you mentioned that it's, the moon is in your sixth house of daily activities
Mhm.
and getting things done. What's your habits and how's your health and also your pets? I love that as we're talking about a sixth house thing, we had a visit from your sweet dog, of course.
Mhm.
um I love that. The moon for full always is a release of the seeds that we planted 6 months earlier during the new moon. And so there was a new moon in Sagittarius
Mhm.
back in forever ago. Let's go. That would be let's get into Sagittarius season. When would we
Remember?
have a new moon? Yeah. So that's going to be, we had a new moon.
Uh-huh.
That was the full moon. There we go. New moon, November 30th,
Oh,
2024. That is when the sun and the moon were both in Sagittarius, 9 degrees, 32 minutes in your sixth house. Those were seeds planted under
okay.
that lunation. And what specifically we do is we plant seeds under the new moon for the best of that sign. So, what's the best of Sagittarius?
Well, it's what I've been doing this whole time. I mean, I've been not gathering information for information's sake, but just expanding and reaching out and exploring and actually I traveled twice last well, I traveled, yeah. I just gotten back from Mexico, and I've had some other plans, and it's everything's just gotten deeper and wider and taller and so much incoming information.
Because Sagittarius is the sign of go gather expertise, have
Yeah,
experiential learning. It's not just go into academics and get some book learning. It's also, go explore. It
yeah,
is, gather information and become an expert. Like, so the seed planting for Sagittarius is, where do I want to have adventure and
yeah.
where do I want to experience learning? And where do I want to travel, usually internationally? Like, that's all a part of it. So if we then come around to this exciting full moon that we are having here, June 11th, this is now the release. The full
Yeah,
moon is where we take what is the shadow side of that sign and what do we
oh,
release? And
uh-huh.
especially looking back at 6 months ago when we planted the seeds for this lunation, what kinds of things do we realize we don't need that maybe we thought we needed 6 months ago when we planted those seeds for the new moon in Sagittarius, November 30th, 2024.
Well, I think I don't need to do all the things.
I would say that is a very good Sagittarius full moon release, because Sagittarius will say, I can do, ruled by
Yeah.
Jupiter, I can do all the things. I need to get all the degrees, all the certifications. I need to have all the experiences. And it's like, you kind of can't have all of them.
You can sure try. You can 100% try, particularly if you have a lot of questions. It's the best thing ever. I was like, "Oh, I wish I could just get paid to learn things." But then
Yeah.
and I can, but what I realize now, you know what? Okay, so I've had so much incoming, and I've really over the past little while been working on I've created curriculums and teaching and I mean so much groups and programs. And so I do think now it's time to stop collecting and start in a cancer, lovely cancer, like let's make sense of this. And also in a very generous way, what I've been able to do with safe people is, and this has happened a lot, gotten together and I'm like, oh my gosh, you have an idea? Guess what? I researched that. Let me share this with you. So I'm not having to do all the work now.
That. Okay, perfect. So for this full moon in Sagittarius,
Huh?
are going to, whether you write it up on a list and then burn the list safely, obviously, disclaimer, please do not use fire in unsafe ways for any
Yeah.
reason, but especially not for your woo rituals. It doesn't have to be all that dramatic. You can, if you're like, I'm in a place where I can't really do fire, great, you can flush it down the toilet, like write things on toilet paper squares and then flush it.
Mhm.
Totally safe to do that, usually, depending on your system, obviously.
Totally.
But however it is that you want to commemorate that these are things I'm going to release, rip it up, let it go. Or if you want to write it in a journal that you keep and then you come back and you can look at it later, what is the thing you can do that allows you to detach from it so that under this full moon, you are releasing the need to go get all the things because that's the shadow side of Sagittarius is I know everything and I'm going to make sure that no one can top me in my knowing about this thing, to the point of exhaustion, to the point of they just cantankerous mansplaining, and it gets unattractive at some point.
I'm like, hey, do you want me to tell you about whatever it is? It also does not help to have your South Node in Virgo
No.
with your, anyway. So, okay. So may I ask another question, please, about this lunation?
Yes.
All right. So during we'll just talk full moon because full moon right now, but is it going to be more prevalent in whatever house it's in each individual person's chart? So do I need to look at like, what does that mean? Sixth house, like
Yeah.
new moon, full moon.
So what we do is we use the chart harmony formula of the planet is the what, the
Mm-hmm.
sign is the how, and the
Mm-hmm.
house is where it shows up in your life. And so
Okay.
this is where we're right now looking at your unique chart and saying the first two things are true for everybody, that the sign, that the planet is, in this case, not a planet, a luminary, but go with me, the moon. And the
Mm-hmm.
moon is always how we get our needs met, our emotional body, our ability to feel safe. So that is the what of the moon. And then the how for everybody right now is Sagittarius, through experience, adventure, education, awareness, knowing, gregarious storytelling, being the life of the party. These are all very Sagittarius.
Spirituality,
Um, yeah,
some spirituality.
through experiential learning. Like that's the
I
big
got it.
thing for Sagittarius is it's like, because I have this lived experience, this must be true, and this is where it gets into mansplaining. It must be true for everyone. Because I have this lived experience, it must be true for everyone. And Sagittarius needs to know, no, honey, that's your lived experience and it's different than other signs' lived experience. But Sagittarius is like, I don't understand, because Sagittarius is like, I lived it, therefore that is what it is. And that's when we get to the shadow side of dropping it out and letting that go for the full moon. So we did the planet is the what, and the sign is the how, and
Mhm.
now we're going to take a look at the where, which is going to be 12 different houses depending on what your rising is. And so for you with Cancer rising, it puts it in the sixth house, which means this shows up specifically in how you do your day-to-day doings, how you do your health, hygiene habits, pets, how your employees show up in your world if you have a business that has employees, but also how you show up as an employee if you have a jobby job. Sixth house is all of that: health and wellness, daily routines. It's the mundane. That's what we look at for the sixth house. And of
Okay.
course, there are 12 options for what that can be. And maybe what we'll do is let's do a quick and dirty what, depending on where Sagittarius is, you have another animal.
Yeah,
We're
she's a
talking,
Scorpio.
we're,
Scorpio sun.
we are talking about the sixth house and you have another animal.
Van's in the other room too. Yeah.
I don't think I've met all your animals, apparently. Oh my gosh. Okay, we will all meet all your animals. Let's do a quick and dirty of
Okay.
the Sagittarius full moon through the houses, and then we'll wrap this one up. So if you have Sagittarius rising, that full moon being in your first house, that's going to show up in your being, your personhood, like your personality, and where the where of it all could even be physical. It could be something physical that you want to let go of that feels like the Sagittarius full moon would allow you to release. If you've got Sagittarius in the second house, it's going to be belongings and values and valuables and money. It can show up in your bank account, yes, but also just in the things that you call your stuff. That's what we could do for second houses. That's your stuff. The third house is going to be Sagittarius. Third house is for folks who are looking at social media, yes, but also your friend group that's super close in, siblings, cousins, your neighborhood. We look at this as like your local haunt, like the people around your bodega. That's going to be those kinds of wares for, and also early childhood education shows up in the third house. So I want to make sure to mention that. Fourth house Sagittarius is going to be your childhood home, where you come from, your roots. It could also be physical property that you own or that is being handed down to you, depending on your relationship with property and roots and ancestry. And it can also be your inner child work can sometimes show up in that fourth house. As for the where of the fifth house, if you have Sagittarius fifth house, that's going to be play, friskiness, risk taking, affairs. It's being in the spotlight, stepping up, being seen. It can also be your children, but it could also be childlike glee, creativity in general. Sixth house, we've already talked about, but for the sake of keeping this all in a row, that's the mundane, the day to day, the habits, health and hygiene, pets, your employees if you run a business, the employee that you are in someone else's business if you have a jobby job. That's health, wellness. I think I did all that right. Seventh house Sagittarius is going to be all about your person. So this is either your love partner or your business partner or your therapist partner or your business partner or even a coach or even an enemy. Anytime there's a one-on-one relationship, we look to the seventh house for that relationship. Those are the wares for that one to show up. The full house in Sagittarius, if it's happening in your eighth house, that one is showing up in your shadow work, other people's money, things that you don't control, but that show up for you financially. So this can be inheritances, it can be taxes, it can be a tax burden, it can also be a surprise lottery win. The eighth house has always a different vibe to it of we're not quite sure what we're going to get there, because it's also where magic and the occult happens. It is also death, sex. Like there's a lot of just cool transformation energy things happening in the eighth house. And so it's got a lot of mystery to it, but it can be a very prosperous house as well. The Sagittarius ninth house is going to be travel, usually internationally, dealing with people of other backgrounds who speak other languages, that whole experiential learning. It's also education, higher ed specifically, and people who are professionals like your lawyers, your astrologers, your psychiatrists, your therapists, people who have usually big brain professional jobs. Fall in the ninth house as well. Going and getting lots of advanced degrees happens with the Sagittarius placement there. The 10th house Sagittarius, that full moon is happening there for you in your career house, the house of your most public eye, how you are seen, your reputation, your ambition for how you do your career. The 11th house is going to be your larger friend group. So whereas we looked at the third house for those close in people, for the 11th house, it is like your people at large, the collective, where you're innovative and where you do things like activism to make things change for the greater good. And then the 12th house, as we've talked about previously, already in this episode, is the place where you've got your dreams and your connection with other timelines and other dimensions, but also that's systems of imprisonment, it's hospitals, institutions, systems, and mental health all go in the 12th house. So using the where that this full moon is happening for you can really help you add more to what you are releasing. And so if you were to make like a Mad Libs about it, you could say, like for me, my Sagittarius, let me think of where my Sagittarius is. My Sagittarius is in the third house. So I could say that I am doing the what of the planet, which is the moon. So that's how the what of the planet is how I feel safe and where I am getting my needs met and the ability to be sensitive to others' needs and my needs at the same time. So I'm looking at that moon and doing all that safety stuff. Okay, great. My emotional intelligence is all right there. It is in Sagittarius. So for everyone experiencing that, that full moon is going to be that expertise, that ability to articulate with humor, but get those, higher education, get the experiential learning, all the stuff that we talked about that is so great for Sagittarius: adventure, gregarious AF. And then the where of it for me, third house, would be social media or siblings or cousins or my local neighborhood, things that are happening in the close in part of my life. And so if I wanted to release something for this full moon, it could be release my need to know it all when it comes to things about my siblings, sure, or about my the way I use social media, maybe. I don't really have anything here. I'm like you, I have an empty Sagittarius house, so I don't necessarily feel like there's something there that I'm working out, but that doesn't mean I can't work out a Mad Libs about it and then do a release just like I would do an intention on the other lunation of the month, or 6 months ago for this one in Sagittarius specifically.
Okay.
I talked a million.
No, that's what we need. It's not simple. It's not like, oh, I'm a Leo. Oh, you're a Cancer. No, it's more complicated than that.
But we want to make it at least simple enough that we don't get overwhelmed by it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Just having a little bit of information and nuance, though, helps make it's not one dimensional then.
For sure.
So people can relate.
Let's hope. Let us know. Y'all,
Let
would
us-
love to hear from you. Share in the comments where you are experiencing this full moon in Sagittarius. And if that has already passed by the time you are watching this episode, not a problem. You can continue to do your release for a past full moon. It's not like if you miss the bus, you can't get on ever again. You will have many opportunities to do your work in every little part of your house, of every little part of your chart, of every house, every sign, every planet there. You're going to have lots of opportunities to do it all. All right. We'll see you next time.
Okay. Bye.